It's like the scariest time before casting. It's like it's not real until we've casted, because these characters only exist if human beings come and will incarnate them. And so I'm super nervous. It's like who will do this part and who will do that part. So I'm dreaming and trying to design and trying to figure these things out, and it really comes alive when the actors show up.
Auditions are the worst thing in the world. Seriously, I've been acting for, wait, how old am I? Oh my gosh, 40 years. And I hate auditions so much. I'm so nervous. I know I'll probably stumble some, but it'll be all right. So.
Well, I'm shaking, and yeah. Where is the closest restroom, just in case?
I'm nervous, yeah. But that's a good thing, you know. You don't want to be too blasé. It's always nice to be a little nervous.
This is actually my first theater audition. So, yeah. I am actually a professional opera singer, and I've always wanted to get into theater, but Shakespeare is the closest thing to opera that I've found in the theater world. And whenever I read it, whenever I see it performed, it is so close to music. It is so musical intrinsically that I felt like that would be a really awesome place to start.
Usually I'm not nervous, like unless it's singing. I'm usually kind of nervous whenever it comes to music, but acting, not really.
I don't get any stage fright for performances, but I get huge stage fright for auditions. And added to that, it's been about 10 years since I brushed off any of my Shakespeare. So I'm a little anxious. I've got some nerves for sure, but I'm excited.
I think it's more excited, but it's kind of like registering as nervous energy. So I'm ready to just like go in there and like just get it done because I'm so excited. So yeah.
I'm just going to hope that I get a part at least. If I get a part, if I get a part. If I don't get a part, okay, on to the next thing.
I'm excited to start. So it's over. It's always kind of a relief once you get it out without making a total fool of yourself.
Wish me luck.
Excited, yes. A little bit nervous. Honestly, not as nervous as I felt driving into a red sky. That was worse. That's so much worse. Shakespeare's like, we're buddies. That's fine.
We're doing callbacks, and I'm with the last actor, and a producer comes in the room and is like, you have to go. And I'm thinking, well, our time is not up. Then it was you, Melody. You're like, no, you have to leave because you might want to leave because of what's happening with the fire. So I go out the studio doors out onto the street, and the whole sky is dark orange and red and smoke everywhere. And there's a line of cars stopped right outside heading north. So of course, I bundle up my stuff, I get in the car, and I started off with the traffic, and I thought, but I actually want to go that way, and there's no traffic that way. So I turned and went south on Market, and then it occurred to me, like, well, maybe there's a reason there's no cars going this way, like, what have I done? And because things are just chaotic, and there's sirens everywhere. And so I come up to a line of cars, I stop, I'm on the bridge, and all of a sudden, I counted 15 fire engines come blaring next to me, park, the fire people are getting out and setting up stuff. And I look to my right and I see on the ridge across the river just a little flame. And I got out my phone, I'm looking at my phone and I'm thinking, should I call my husband? And I look at the flame again and it was a lot bigger. And so then I just looked at the flame, and in 3 minutes it went from a tiny, tiny flame to this raging fire-nado is what I realized when I was looking at it. It was just filled the sky. It was terrifying. I had several actors have to be evacuated, so they had to leave the area or stay with friends, and that disrupts your life. And the station itself was shut down for 2, maybe 3 nights. And then, of course, when things came back online, you're having to kind of reboot your life. So it delayed us, I think, a week and a half before we had our callbacks. We had our first run of just monologues and deciding who we wanted to include in callbacks. So we had to wait about a week and a half. But when we did come back to callbacks, things had settled down. No one was stressed out about, the disruption of the fire. And then we started, we cast.
It's done. I made it through. I didn't throw up on the ground. It was good. I was very excited. I got just enough to give me a taste of Shakespeare, but not too much. I'll have incredible anxiety. So I'm excited to get to work on it. I get to be a statue.
I was very excited, especially to be playing Richard III, which I've always wanted to play villain on stage.
Well, I was very much looking forward to Brutus all along, because Julius Caesar, he's an amazing character, the poor guy. I never thought I had a chance of Antonio in Taming of the, oh my gosh, what is it? A Merchant of Venice. But I'm so glad she gave me that, and so I'm really looking forward to that too.
As for the roles that I'll be playing, let's see, let me remember all of them. Guard number 2 in Richard III, Nerissa in Merchant of Venice, Cinna in Julius Caesar, and Perdita from The Winter's Tale.
I'm delighted. I was glad to be included. It sounds like an interesting project. I'm looking forward to it. I was cast as Polixenes, Metellus in Julius Caesar, and Shylock in The Merchant of Venice.
I got cast as Beatrice, which was one of the characters that I had really wanted, and so that's really exciting. I can't wait to get to play that character again.
I like them. I feel good about them. One of them is a villain, I believe, one of the conspirators against Julius, which is awesome. I like playing the villain sometimes.
Came in really wanting Portia, and I got Portia. That was the one I wanted more than anything, so I was pretty excited this morning to see that email. And then I'm playing a smaller role in Julius Caesar.
So it's kind of fun. You sort of see a lot of different facets of actors doing big roles and small roles. It's a model that has been used since Shakespeare's time. When in Shakespeare's theater, they would have a repertoire of plays that they would do. And so on one night, someone might play Richard III, and on the next night, they're playing Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing. And actors in that company would play multiple roles. So we're sort of just right in the tradition there.
The car fire, leaving town because of the smoke, taking my son away, I have definitely lost a lot of time that I normally would be spending on preparing for the scenes. Because I have a 3-year-old and I'm away from my husband, I've kind of been single parenting it with him. And this afternoon I was actually trying to learn lines, and I was walking through the house and he was coming up to me and asking for things, and of course I'm not gonna ignore him. So it's, the quality of mercy. No, I don't know where your car is. It's been a little bit interesting, but we're getting there.
I used to be so good, but it's true what they say about age. It takes me a lot longer now. So I've got it all recorded. I do the listening on them in the car, and then I read it at night. And I could do a whole script in a couple days back in the day, but no, it'll take me a little while. I'll have cheat sheets.
My Shakespeare phobia is lifting a little bit. I'm not as nervous now having to read lines. So that's hopefully by the end of this we'll get that licked.
I really tried to stick to the umdy-dumdy-dumdy-dumdies at first. Like my first line is, "O mighty Caesar, dost thou lie so low?" And that's pretty easy to just run through until it's stuck in my brain. Then I put intention, and as soon as you add emotion, all the lines fly out of your head, and you have to learn them all over again. So there's several iterations of the learning curve that you go through with this text.
It's a beautiful experience as an actor to basically be led by the language. It's the brilliance of Shakespeare that makes it rewarding, as a matter, in terms of acting, it becomes a matter of trust, of just following the language.
Tonight we are doing blocking. As to what blocking is, I'm not the best at describing things, so I'll give it my best go. Blocking is I think of it as choreographed movement. You're moving, but you have a designated place to go. The thing is, you have to make it look like you're the one who planned on going there. So that can be a little difficult for newer actors. But pretty much blocking is just moving to a certain place on the stage, how you should move there, when you should move there, at what line, there's cues and everything.
At this part of the play, I'm reminded of I'm great on actor quotes. John Malkovich describes doing a play as like being like an oil painting. You do a little bit at a time, and it evolves over an incredible amount of time. We've got 4 weeks to do the show with small little bits of it, but we're putting as much into the scene as we would into a regular production. So you can kind of see the so many hours a night, so many nights a week, and it plus learning your lines, learning your blocking, getting the book out of your. The instant we get the book out of the hands, we can start opening it up and making it more live.
It's starting to come together. I've got my lines memorized, and now it's just putting it together with movement. That's going to be a little tricky, but I think we're coming along okay.
Yeah, it's coming along very well. It's I'll be glad when the blocking's pretty much over and we can get into the flow and just work with the characters and each other.
I can compare it sort of to driving. So like when I first started driving, you're trying to look at all your mirrors, check your blind spots, hit the brake, be gentle with it, hit the gas, watch your speed, look out for cops, like all that kind of stuff. But as you get older and as you get more experience with it, it's just kind of like a flow, and it just happens. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm home. How did I get here? And it's a little terrifying. But once you're familiar with a character and with the relationship that you have with your scene partner and you're off book, this being off book really helps. It's kind of like that, everything kind of settles in and you don't really even have to think about your lines. It just all of a sudden, it's what you're being motivated to say. So, it makes sense for that to be your next sentence. So yeah, it's not very difficult. It becomes very, very natural. And as long as you actively listen to your scene partner, it's always going to be like organic and fresh.
We hired Felicia Birch, who has a long resume acting in Shakespeare. Her most recent thing will have been Tempest. She did a Shakespeare in the Park production in the suburb of Chicago. She played Ariel in the Tempest. And she's coming. She also has a lot of training in movement for performers. Alexander technique and Tadashi Suzuki has a technique as well for theatrical performance movement. So she's gonna come, and she arrives the Sunday before we open. And that week she will step into the roles of Lady Anne. She'll step into the role of Paulina in Winter's Tale, the first and last scenes. And then Brittany and Mallory will be able to see a professional actress who's had years and years of experience doing Shakespeare take on these roles they've been struggling with. And my hope is that they'll be like, oh, that's how that line is. They'll have ideas about what's hard about that role, and then they'll see her do it and hopefully learn and have their mind kind of expanded, hopefully.
Right away, Carolyn had set me up to meet with actors one-on-one, so I got to meet them right away one-on-one. And I actually was very grateful for their reception of me, even in that, having never met me before and only going on what Carolyn knew about me, that they wanted to listen to me, and I felt like I do have things to share with you if you want them, and I'm not going to force it upon you. But I met with Mallory first, and she was just like, yes, give me more. What else do you have? And then from there, every actor I've met with has been so kind and receptive and eager to learn. And for me too, I've really enjoyed sitting with each actor, and I've learned things with them. I love Shakespeare's text, and as we explore little things, I learned today that Shylock has this speech where he says, over and over again, he says, I and my house, and it's very personal. Or I learned that, in looking at this text with Arafi just now about Isabel's final monologue, and she's got built into the speech, Shakespeare gave her a little pause that we found together, and so I'm learning as well, and I think I hope that that's the environment that I'm helping to foster.
And then she's also going to help the cast with some movement. I'll have a list for her, actually. Like this character here, I've been trying to get him to work on this kind of expressive movement, and then she'll coach him on that. She'll also kind of give me feedback on my blocking. I love collaborating because you get really close to something and it's hard to get that perspective to say, oh, right, okay, this needs attention over here. So I'm eager to hear her feedback on that. And then she'll offer a masterclass to our actors and work with select ones one-on-one.
We think that Shakespeare is literature, and it's not. It's a play, and he has lived for so long for many different reasons. One of which is that he really knew how to wield these different archetypes and these themes that are universal, so that when you see Shakespeare done well, you identify yourself on stage. You go, oh, I know what that's like.
Shakespeare he gives us poetry to express such deep emotion. In real life, when someone's feeling that, they're not going to be speaking poetry. But the thing about it is, when you let the language serve the expression of that deep emotion, it gives something to the performance. It's a kind of music. It's a kind of sounding of chords that allows the audience to enter into the experience of that emotion in a way that's really special. So this is an example where you kind of let go of the naturalistic, so hey, how you doing sort of language, and you're really trying to represent human experience in a heightened, poetic, more expressive, more powerful way.
Carolyn has obviously set up this environment where everybody is learning and engaged and appreciative and supportive of each other, and I hope I can add to that and the gifts and the skills that I bring to the table.
There's always this moment where, the casting's done and you're in the trench and you're, shoveling, and then all of a sudden you realize, I don't have forever to do this. Like, there is a tick-tock going on. And, the way I handle that is to make lists with deadlines and say, okay, if I have this done by this and this done by this. So I'm thinking, I need a pestle for A Winter's Tale. Where is that coming from? And I'm choosing music. Like, where is this? I like this song. Where is it going to go? And I'm just really starting to make deadlines, and also delegate. You don't do everything. So I'm feeling good because I have a really strong partner in Eddie Sadler with Sadler Audiovisual Entertainment, and he is going to stage manage and do lighting and sound and projection for us. And so I'm going to ask for certain effects, ask for certain sound cues, and please use this music here. And then I'm going to give him the projections, and then he's going to do all the technological stuff. He's going to execute on that vision, which is very exciting to have a partner like that.
Shasta College let us use some, tens of thousands of dollars worth of lights. Bill Steck, our audio engineer, brought in lots of equipment. We're using QLab as a media player to play the projections. We've got a digital audio console. We've got a whole hog lighting system. So it's all pretty modern.
So there's already a lighting grid there. It's just a matter of attaching the lighting instruments where you want them. And there's already speakers. There's a system there that we can bring in and add to and augment. So the actual making of the theater is the best that I've experienced recently.
At the beginning of Tech Week, all of a sudden the actors will be thrust into their costumes for the first time. They'll try on makeup for the first time. They'll come out into the space, they'll stand under the lights, and the lighting designer will write all the cues for the lights for the first time. The sound designer will get their sound cues set, and all the actors show up, and we go through the play piecemeal, sort of cue to cue is what we call it, cue to cue, where we start at the top and the lighting designer and the set designer and the costume designer and the sound designer and the director all communicate with each other to make sure that the look of the play is what they want it to be, and the sound of the play is what they want it to be, in order for it to be the perfect play environment for the actors to work.
They're doing the lights, they're doing the sound, they're doing whatever they're doing. I don't care. I just focus on my character. You do whatever you have to do. Give me a light or something, I don't care.
We have all these lighting cues that we're planning, and then we have the projections that we're planning, and the music. I have a whole soundtrack that I've put together, and to sort of see all of that stand up and, you know, sound at one time, you know, the chord sounding at one time. I'm very excited for that.
It really helps hammer home some of the emotion they're trying to convey.
I guess 6 weeks ago I thought of it more of a workshop and a nice experiment and experience to get to know Shakespeare better. Now I'm thinking this is a really good full-fledged production, so that's nice actually.
Well, this is Tech Week, so we are finalizing all of our tech cues, all of our lighting and fog and projection backgrounds, and the curtain effect for Julius Caesar, which is what I'm working on yon machine back there.
Some really great things are happening. The show in the last week has become something really exciting. Yeah.
Oh, my heart's going to be pounding faster than a cheetah runs tomorrow. I'm going to be extremely nervous. I'm just not really nervous now, but I'm going to be super nervous tomorrow.
And we're getting all that ready and finalized and ready to go. We have an audience tomorrow.
Tonight, as we see 6 scenes from the plays that span his career, we can see an evolution in his understanding of the interplay between justice and mercy, and in his use of each in his art. We start with a scene of outrageous injustice.
Though I wish thy death, I will not be thy executioner.
Then bid me kill myself, and I shall do it.
I have already.
That was in thy rage. Say it again. And even with the word, this hand which for thy love did kill thy love, shall for thy love kill a far truer love. To both of their deaths shalt thou be accessory.
I would I knew thy heart.
'Tis figured in my tongue.
I fear me both are false.
Never was man true.
Oh, put up your sword.
Say then my peace is made.
That shalt thou know hereafter.
Shall I live in hope?
All men I hope live so.
Shed thou no blood, nor cut thou less nor more, but just a pound of flesh. For if thou takest more or less than a just pound, be it but by so much as to make it light or heavy in the substance or division of the 20th part of one poor scruple, nay, if the scale do turn, but in the estimation of a hair, thou diest, and all thy goods are confiscate.
A goodly count, confect. A sweet, gallant, surely. Oh, that I were a man for his sake, or that I had any friend to be a man for mine. But manhood is melted into curtsies, valor into compliment, and men are only turned into tongue, and trim ones too. He is now as valiant as Hercules that only tells a lie and swears it. I cannot be a man with wishing. Therefore I will die a woman with grieving.
Tarry, good Beatrice. By this hand, I love thee.
Use it for my love some other way than swearing by it.
Thinkest thou the Count Claudio hath wronged Hero?
Yea, as sure as I have a thought or a soul.
Enough. I am engaged.
But here comes Antony. Welcome, Mark Antony.
Almighty Caesar, dost thou lie so low? All thy conquests, glories, triumphs, spoils shrunk to this little measure. Fare thee well. I know not, gentlemen, what you intend. Who else must be let blood, who else is rank? If I myself, there is no hour so fit as Caesar's death's hour. Blood and destruction shall be so in use, and dreadful objects so familiar that mothers will but smile when they behold their infants quartered with the hands of war, all pity choked with custom of fell deed. And Caesar's spirit, ranging for revenge, shall in these confines with a monarch's voice cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war, that this foul deed shall smell above the earth with carrion men groaning for burial.
Answer me tomorrow, or by the affection which guides me most, I shall prove to him a tyrant. And as for you, say what you will. My false overweighs your true.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths, that bear in them one and the self-same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws. Well, to my brother, though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor that, had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. You gods, look down, and from your sacred vials pour your graces upon my daughter's head. Oh, tell me, mine own, where hast thou been preserved? Where lived? How found thy father's court? Oh, for you shall hear that I, knowing by line that the oracle gave hope thou wast in being, have preserved myself to see the issue.
There's time enough for that, lest they desire upon this push to trouble your joys with like relation. Go together, you precious winners all. Your exaltation partake to everyone.
Major funding for Shakespeare Uncovered Series 3 is provided by the Joseph and Robert Cornell Memorial Foundation, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Polanski Foundation, Dana and Virginia Rant, Elaine and W. Weldon Wilson, the Lillian Goldman Programming Endowment, the Leicester T. Mertz Charitable Trust, Jody and John Arnhold, and PBS.